Hey Bat fans, Luke here, ready to bat chat about another book. And today, on this fabulous Labor Day holiday, we're going to take a look at a Bat classic that not too many people talk about, and that is Batman 4 of a Kind. Batman 4 of a Kind is a collection of 4 stories that grace the pages of Shadow the Bat, Batman, Detective Comics, and what is the other one? Legends of the Dark Knight, as you see here. These occurred in Shadow the Bat, angle number 3, Detective Comics, angle number 8, Batman, angle number 19, and Legends of the Dark Knight, angle number 5. And this is a collection of those 4 stories written by just a fantastic group of Batman legend writers, especially in the peak of this time period, which occurred between 1995 and 1998. You have Alan Grant, you also have Chuck Dixon, and also have Doug Moench. So, as far as like the who's who of Batman writers during this time period, that's pretty much who you got. This is definitely a good trade full of, again, the premier Bat writer talent at the time. And basically what this is, as you kind of see by the cover, those 4 stories include one that starts off, the first one deals with Poison Ivy, the second one deals with the Riddler, the third deals with Scarecrow, and the fourth deals with Man-Bat. And basically what these are a collection, again, those 4 stories that showcase maybe not so much Poison Ivy, and it does for like a page, but basically what this is, these are the modern age origin stories for these characters and their first interaction with Batman. And I say with the exception of Poison Ivy, because while as the other 3 you get an in-depth look at their origin, how they kind of came to be, in Man-Bat you actually see it happening. I don't want to say in real time, because I mean it's a comic book, but Man-Bat's origin story, again, this is for the modern continuity, obviously his way back in Detective 400, but his origin kind of came as you're reading the story, whereas the ones by Scarecrow and the Riddler, they have a modern story that's going on, and their backstory occurs through kind of like flashbacks. And Poison Ivy's origin was like a page, and the rest of it was a modern story. And again, these are kind of like the a modernized version of their origin stories for the modern continuity back when. Obviously, this is way before what we've seen in like even the New 52, where definitely Scarecrow, his origin was retold in The Dark Knight by Greg Hurwitz, in the story Night Terrors, which I think was my favorite story arc of that series. Then obviously Riddler, go back to Zero Year with Scott Snyder's run in Batman. Man-Bat, I think there was some there in the Detective Comics. Maybe not as flushed out as much. So these are definitely before the New 52 era. And for the most part, this was a very solid book. If I kind of had to rack and stack them, I would say the Scarecrow issue for me was my favorite. And I think a tie, it sound like such a cheap cop-out, but and actually, you know what? I go Scarecrow, I go Man-Bat, Riddler, and then Poison Ivy's story. And basically, just kind of give you a synopsis of the stories. Poison Ivy's story, it's a relatively simple one, in that she also has her poison that is able to, take control of the minds of men and whatnot. She basically concocts something that will enable her to take control of all of Gotham, and the only way Gotham can save itself through the antidote is by them to come up with a ransom, and obviously that leads to a confrontation between Poison Ivy and Bruce Wayne, subsequently Batman, and how Batman does kind of, I don't want to say follow the plan, follow the plan. It was actually pretty interesting. Definitely his identity was kept intact, and how initially who was the first? It was who did she kiss first? It was Bruce Wayne, I believe. Bruce Wayne that she kisses first, and then the way that you can initially get kind of cured of her initial poison was be kissed by her twice, and then the other time she get... Okay, I'm going too much. I don't want to spoil it, because if you fork out the money in this story, I don't want to ruin too much, which I will get to that in a minute. But it was clever, but it was a relatively simple, caper story by Poison Ivy, with like a one-page kind of snippet of how kind of her brother kind of influenced her character, what she turned out to be. The second story was the Riddler Story, and also, you also get the Riddler Story kind of in depth in the history, but you also get the introduction of the two characters as you see Query and Echo, the two females, which you will see kind of pop up from time to time in Riddler Story, so you get their introduction of their origin as well. And basically what the Riddler has done is you get the present day story where he's actually incarcerated in Arkham, and he's recanting his first interaction with Batman through, obviously, the origin of the Riddler, which was built up over time. It's, in concept, sort of similar in a way to Zero Year. That might be a little too strong. But basically what it's Riddler bullied, obviously, in school. He found a way to get ahead. Now, cheating a little bit, but then you start to see here was a contest where he gets introduced, the prize for winning the contest, which, again, he kind of cheated, was this book that dealt with puzzles and brain teasers and so much. So that's kind of like the birth of the Joker character right there, and then, not Joker, Riddler, and then he kind of gets into the criminal underworld and kind of builds his way up. And then how he kind of initially sees Batman as the true test of wits, his true rival, the detective, the smarts, where you see the battle of wits. How it kind of follows through at the end was sort of so-so, but it was still a good story. The third one, the Scarecrow Story, it felt a lot like you would in that Greg Hurwitz story in The Dark Knight. You see the boy childhood of Dr. Crane, juxtaposed this current day murder mystery that Batman and I don't think Gordon was even captain yet. I think he was still lieutenant. No, by the way, this all kind of occurs right around the first year of Batman's career. And then there's murders going on, and it's dealing with the local university where Dr. Crane was recently fired due to some really obscure and extreme in-classroom instruction. We'll just kind of leave it at that. Juxtapose his origin story. Again, he's buoyed, and it's really a sympathetic tale for the character of Jonathan Crane. How he almost reminds me a little bit of, it almost has a lot of the movie Carrie, influence to it, as he's kind of gets buoyed a lot, and then goes to the prom and gets prank pulled on, that actually leads to the birth of the Scarecrow character. So you do get kind of a sympathetic viewpoint of the Scarecrow character, and how Batman initially falls through the incarceration as he's trying to solve this murder case that's going on. The first interaction with the fear toxin, or the fear gas, whatnot, and Batman later becomes immune to it to a degree. And it's a really good case. So you get the sympathetic character development tale, the Scarecrow story, juxtapose this detective story that Batman, obviously Batman the street level, which I always thought those are always the best Batman stories. It's Batman street level doing his detective work, the greatest detective, using that attribute. It's always a good part of storytelling. And the next is, the last one, is the Man-Bat story. Pretty much what we've seen. We have Dr. Langstrom. Obviously, he's working through a lab. Can't hear. He's trying to use animal DNA to kind of help some of the human conditions that kind of ail society. Something like also him being deaf. Using animal DNA to kind of solve these medical conundrums that us as humans kind of have to deal with. And he's initially turned down, and then obviously, kind of what you would think, it's him injecting the serum, kind of further his research that way. His fiancee Francine's in this, and you definitely, as opposed to Francine and the Francine Langstrom we've seen in the New 52, this is a very different take on Francine Langstrom. And again, it's a sympathetic tale. You see eventually the Bat serum take over. You see more of the Bat persona of Man-Bat kind of come through, and less of the Kirk Langstrom. And it kind of wraps up to the end as well. You do see Man-Bat go into the Batcave, which we've seen a billion times before. But this is like 20 years ago, so you kind of forgive it as much as that. But that's basically the synopsis. The art throughout, I will say, as much as I thought the Poison Ivy story was kind of so-so, it really did capture the art that really, I thought, showcased the Legends of the Dark Knight, or is it, I'm sorry, Shadow of the Bat story. It just felt like true to that tale at the time. Just had that classic art style that fit the title. And throughout the book, it really does have, like, also you see panels like this. It really have like a good year one type of feel. Mazzarucci, I believe, the artist. I'm butchering his name. The artist in that tale. And what you do see in this first story, if I can find it, it has probably the best page of art in the book. But again, you get the story didn't really encapsulate it. Poison Ivy when she's kissing Bruce Wayne. If I can find it and get to it. We're at the party. Yeah, here it is. It's one you kind of have to rotate the book around, and you just see the art here. It's just fantastic. It really did just showcase that art of Shadow of the Bat. What I'd also like about the art, what we've seen in the Riddler story, and too with the Man-Bat, or not the Man-Bat, Scarecrow. Anything it's kind of like a going back in time. You get like a different color palette, like in this case in the Scarecrow, it's like a brownish, dark orange type of tint to it, so you can kind of juxtapose what's going on in current day versus what's going on in the past. And then you see a good example of this. Here's Jonathan Crane as a kid, and obviously in the past, and you got current day Batman doing his research. You see even better in the Joker. I keep saying the Joker. The Riddler story. Again, these are all kind of present day. Then you kind of see some stuff in the past. It gets that different color tone to it. So, great color palette. It does kind of have like the, I don't want to say Silver Age, Bronze Age type of feel to it, but it did have that great art. And again, some of this, it just has like a year one type of feel, which kind of fitting that you see it, and that this is sort of set in Batman's first year. Man-Bat is really grainy. The Man-Bat story, the art in it, which I thought really did fit the tone. So, overall thoughts. I thought this was a fun story. It did have like that old classic Batman feel that, man, I've really been liking as of late. Modern Batman stories, I still like them, and I'll talk about that here in a second, but man, they're just something about the classics that really do just brings out like a good time. And right now, this is what I'm just craving right now. Just a good time. I'm just needing a good time with my comic book reading, and these old Batman classics really do bring that out. Downside to this is the price. I stumbled on this. I was looking for this for a while, and looking for it for a good price. And I was at Myrtle Beach a couple months ago, and there's a comic book shop there, and they had it for like $20. I snagged it. Didn't even think twice, because I'm going to tell you why in a second. Cover price is $14.95. I paid like $20. Only bad thing, there's a little ding right there. But I'm going to live with that because, just for shits and giggles, I eBayed it today just to kind of see what the price was. $60. $60 in decent condition. And I saw one for $90, like perfect condition. That leads to the downside. The price. This one, you might be better off, see if you can get the annuals, the 4 annuals, and long boxes in the back issues or something. Because, yeah, try to get this in trade. This is one of the out-of-print ones, and it is hard to get your hands on it at a decent price, unless you did, like I did, just stumbled on someone who was probably just trying to clear inventory. So, accessibility is the big downside to this story. But to get past that, these are just classic, one-and-done, modern-age origin stories for these 4 great characters, and it was fun. So, recommended trade-wise for only the Batman completionists who are out there trying to get Batman trades. Recommended for those who can go out there and get the single issues at a decent price. Maybe not so recommended for those who are out there just kind of dipping in and out of comic books. Really not really a full Batman fan. For those individuals who are kind of periphery, there's obviously a lot more better Batman stories for you out there. I'm giving this a 4 out of 5, but with some caveats. So, those are my thoughts on this Bat story. Hit me up in the comments below what you thought about it, if you read it, and we'll kind of Bat chat, go from there. Next video, we'll see. To be honest, as you kind of been noticing lately, haven't really been talking too much of the modern Bat issues that have been coming out lately. And to be honest, I can explain why. 2 things. 1, typically not overwhelmed as much. So really not much to say about it. 2, big thing is just Twitter drama and YouTube drama is just sucked the fun out of the current comic landscape right now. And I can be confident saying this is someone who looks things subjectively and takes both sides' opinion into account and looking at facts, whatnot. I think while some might say one side or the other, and you can kind of get what I'm getting at, might have started whatever we're in, but at the end of the day, the environment we are now in, I think both sides has some, I'm going to say blame, but their share of culpability into what we're at, and it's just sucking the fun out of things right now. So that's why I haven't been talking too much about the current stuff. And to my friends on Twitter, I kind of like ducked out for a little bit. It's just a bad environment. I'm sorry, just everywhere, and you get sucked into it. Just not a fan. I got a lot of stuff going on in life right now, and I don't need to be sucked down into social media drama. So maybe for a little bit, I'll just stick to the Bat classics. We'll see. And then might get the urge to say something with the current Bat titles, so be it. I'll pop up, say a couple things, and once the environment has become a little more conducive to a positive experience, I'll pop up in there as well. Obviously, to my friends out there, Twitter or whatnot, I mean, I still get notifications through email, so if you save DM me or something, I'll still get it. Videos, YouTube, I'm still going to watch, obviously. Friends out there, Sleepy, Travis, Sergeant America, Josh, and all my friends I'm still going to watch. Just for sanity reasons, kind of just sticking out of the drama a little bit. Again, both sides, it's poppable. And the fact that I kind of look at that perspective might not make me too popular in the moment, but it's just, I just see from both sides. It's just both creating a really bad, toxic environment, which, again, life's bad enough. Don't need social drama issues. So anyway, don't want to bring anyone's holiday down. So again, if you read this story, let's Bat chat, bring some positivity into the great hobby we have, and until next video, take care.